Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Crescendo, where we talk about all things related to the adventure of entrepreneurship to help female founders, entrepreneurs, and small businesses amplify their voice and their impact. I'm your host, Rachel Lubchansky. I'm an entrepreneur turned business strategist and mentor, guiding women to build businesses that align with who they are at their core, the positive change they wish to see in the world, and the financial security they desire. On today's episode, I have the pleasure of chatting with Sara Royf, who discovered the power of LinkedIn to find aligned partners, get visible, and raise money for the nonprofit she founded nearly 10 years ago. In the process, she helped scale that nonprofit, which was called Student Organ Donation Advocates, from 1 to 80 chapters, and was personally part of raising nearly $1 million. Just last year, Sara launched her business as a LinkedIn coach and has since helped more than 80 business owners learn how to use LinkedIn to find clients. She lives in Tel Aviv with her husband and dog and is expecting her first baby at the end of the year. Without further ado, let's welcome Sara to the podcast. Hi, Sara.
Hi, Rachel. Thanks so much for having me.
I am delighted to have you today. So we're talking about the power of LinkedIn, but before we dive in, I'd love for you to share a little bit more about yourself and how you got to this place that you are today.
Sure, I'm happy to. I became passionate about LinkedIn, not at all trying to become passionate, actually. I became passionate because I was part of this nonprofit that you mentioned, and we didn't have much money. And so we needed to get creative with our marketing tactics. And I knew I had a free LinkedIn account, and I knew that I could send messages and write posts to get people's attention. At first, of course, I didn't really know how to do it the right way. So through time and a lot of practice, I figured out what got people to respond. And so literally by sending thousands of messages over the past 10 years, did I learn what makes an effective message and what makes a, eye-catching post. And so when I decided about a year ago that I wanted to go off on my own and start my own business, I asked myself, what am I uniquely good at? And one of the things that came to mind was LinkedIn, because I had used it for all these years to kind of get what I wanted in order to grow the nonprofit that I was part of. And so that's when I was able to pivot from serving the nonprofit in order to serve business owners. And so today my focus is entirely on small business owners who want to use LinkedIn to get more business.
Awesome. So how did you decide? You decided on LinkedIn, but then how did you decide on this space of small business owners? What about that market was attractive to you?
So I didn't actually come in knowing I wanted to serve small business owners. I sort of had this idea that many folks in Tel Aviv have, which is that the money is with the startups. And so at first, I thought I would be doing LinkedIn for startups, but my true passion is teaching. And I knew from the very beginning that I didn't want to be somebody who's implementing the strategy. I wanted to be teaching the implementer how to use LinkedIn for their business. And so I had a lot of discovery calls with startups, actually, when I first got started back in October of last year. And every time that I would have these calls, I wouldn't be able to find something that I could offer them. And it was really that simple. I didn't want to do the implementation. I wanted to provide coaching and support. And startups didn't want that service, at least the startups that I was talking to. But every time I talked to small business owners, they were really interested in learning how to do it. So I found that the small business owners I was talking to were, they really wanted to get their hands dirty and write their own posts and send their own messages. And that was really aligned with how I wanted to run my business and the types of services that I wanted to provide. And so that worked great for building my business.
This is a good point because I think so often people throw out a lot of, we say throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks, right? Like they're like, okay, I'm a LinkedIn coach. And, as you're describing it, you went to a market that you thought might be a great niche for you. How long did it take for you to figure out that that wasn't the right market for you? And then to go all in on this other area?
One of the things that I've learned from the experience with the nonprofit is how important it is to say no. And so I started using that muscle really early on. And I just knew I wasn't going to do work that I didn't want to do. And so because I had that skill kind of refined coming into my business, I was actually able to pretty quickly determine that these startups I was talking to weren't a good fit. So it really just took me a handful of conversations to realize that the clients that were willing to pay me were small business owners. And then that's what gave me the fuel to kind of refine my messaging and say, I'm Sara Royf, and I help small business owners use LinkedIn to find clients. And, that sentence, right? That fundamental sentence of I help blank with blank so they can blank is so important. It's something I actually help a lot of business owners with today. It's how they message their work. But once I had those first few clients and I realized I was saying no to all the startups or the startups were saying no to me, then I knew, okay, the folks that are willing to pay and that I want to work with are in this particular niche of small business owners.
Yeah, and it's about putting that stake in the ground, right? When you put that statement out there, you're claiming this space. This is who I am, this is what I do, this is who I serve. And I often talk about with my clients is finding that intersection of where your skills align with what people need and also what you want to be doing. Your skills and also like your interests. So it's a great story of how you pretty quickly actually found your place within LinkedIn coaching. And I know from talking to you that you became fully booked quite quickly. Tell us how that happened.
Well, I think that the niching down that we've been talking about played a really big part in this. There's actually one more component of the niching down that really supported me as I launched my business. And this is that I identified that there's kind of two fields of LinkedIn. There's the goal that some folks have of becoming a thought leader, right? Where you don't want to become an author, you want to get really big speaking gigs, you want to be known, right? You want to be visible. And then there's this other goal that folks have on LinkedIn, which is that they want clients, right? It's a little bit more practical. It's not like I want a lot of views or anything like that. It's just I want to be fully booked. And so I took the route of helping folks get fully booked, not because one route is better than the other, but I'm a pretty practical person and I really love giving folks practical strategies to achieve their financial goals and grow their business. So that felt really aligned for me. And finding clients is a problem that so many business owners have, right? They need to market themselves. They want to do it in a way that doesn't feel so spontaneous and like haphazard. And so I stumbled upon this area where a lot of folks had the problem that I can solve. And I also started offering a lower priced service, which is a intentional strategy that I use that allowed me to meet a lot of people really quickly because I would say even still I price under the market for that intro level service. And so I actually delivered more than 70 profile optimizations this past year. And because I did 70 profile optimizations, I first priced it at 375 and then I moved the price to 475. And I really should probably move it up again soon. But because I got to talk to so many business owners through this service, one, I brought money in the door, which was really great for my business. And I provided a really high value service for these business owners. I've heard amazing feedback of folks who, are now getting interest in their services because they've nailed their positioning. I can go on and on about the impact that a good profile has on your business. But because I've structured my business by having this lower ticket one-on-one offer, I was able to meet a lot of people, which meant that when I wanted to fill my coaching offers, which are more expensive than that initial offer, I had a big pool of people who already trusted me. And so kind of once that those folks had gone through the process, there were a lot of people who said, okay, but what's next? And how can you continue to help me? And that's what was able to get me to fully book out my offers starting in September. So now I've had my coaching offers closed, and they'll be closed through my maternity leave.
Okay, and we'll talk a little bit more about your maternity leave in a few minutes here. But you've already brought up so many good points. I mean, around pricing, positioning, messaging, and these are like very clear, practical areas that you can work on in your business to help build some of that early momentum. And it sounds like you did that very well. I'm curious, do you rely just on LinkedIn for your own marketing strategy, or do you market elsewhere too?
I like to think about marketing in two buckets. So the first bucket is inbound and the second bucket is outbound. And I encourage business owners to think, what am I doing to get people to come to me? And what am I doing to find people proactively? And so this structure has been really helpful for me as I think about my own marketing. And also you want to have diversified marketing, right? So although I'm a huge fan of LinkedIn and I bet my career at it, right? Becoming a LinkedIn coach, I don't just rely on LinkedIn. I'm a huge fan of email marketing. I actually teach quite a few of my clients how to do email marketing. And I find email marketing is a channel that really works for me. And the folks on my email list love getting my emails because I pack them with value, just like I pack my LinkedIn posts with value. So LinkedIn and email are two of my primary platforms. I don't post on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, anything like that. Although maybe in the future, I'll explore YouTube. And in addition to the regular cadence that I have for those platforms, I also do in-person networking, and I send quite a few outbound LinkedIn messages. For the past 2 months, I've sent quite a few less outbound messages because I've been pretty busy. But what I love is that whenever I know business is starting to slow down, which I'm sure will happen to me again sometime in the future, I'll know I have this tool in my back pocket, which is direct messaging. And it's a tool I teach nearly all of my clients. I'll know I always have that tool to call on so that I don't have to sit back and wait for leads to come to me. I can also do proactive outreach and get folks to become interested or to act upon their interest in the services that I provide.
Cool. So I'm not going to ask you for all your secrets in the DMs, but what are some of the common mistakes people make on the platform?
Oh my gosh, I could talk about DMs all day, Rachel. And I'm actually hosting a webinar on DMing because I continue to talk about it with all of my clients. So the biggest mistake that I see people make is that they pitch right away. And look, it's a strategy that some people use with success. So I'm not trying to say that pitching in the first message is all of the time a bad idea. A lot of people do it. There's some really good templates out there to pitch in the first message. But most of the business owners that you work with and that I work with don't want to run their business that way. It's really simple. They don't want to come across as being this salesy that they are making a pitch without having any pre-built trust. And so again,
I actually asked you about that. Do you think that most of those people are in certain industries? Because
that are doing
I'm not sure I've ever experienced receiving, like, I can't think of an industry where pitching in the first DM actually makes sense. So do you think it's related to specific industries?
a good question.
Like, it just feels so icky. I mean, I'm such a relational person and believe that business is fundamentally built on relationships. In fact, you and I met at an in-person networking event. And so I'm trying to envision when that would actually be a good strategy.
If the targeting is really precise, like you really know that somebody just had something occur in their life where they need a particular service, then you might be able to get away with it. That's the only example that comes to mind. And it's not industry specific. It's more like when your targeting is so good, right? Let's say that somebody just bought a house and you know that they need a mortgage, for example, or they're preparing to buy a house, they just put a bid in for the house, know they need a mortgage, then going and saying, hey, do you need a mortgage broker could be relevant. But at the same time, people are going to their real estate agent and asking for recommendations. So,
Right.
so I think it's a matter of targeting, but it's just really hard to get your targeting good enough that you can get past the barrier of not having trust built right off the bat. Like you said, it's a business of relationships.
Yes. Okay. So spammy selling in the DMs right off the bat is
Yeah.
one of the common mistakes. What else are people doing that we want to alert them to at this point?
The other biggest misconception is that DMing is about selling. Okay. And I know that it's tempting to think that because at the end of the day, why are you DMing or why are you direct messaging? You're DMing because you want to sell, right? Like I understand your intention. that's why my clients come to me. It's how I promote my own business too. But the mindset that we bring into DMing has to be about relationship building. It has to be. It's the only option. And the reason is because when we come in to direct messaging with this abundant mindset that I'm here to build relationships and see if I can be of service to others, our conversations flow so much more freely. And it takes the pressure off of us. We're no longer thinking, what if I didn't pitch at the right time? Or what if I didn't send enough messages? We're just saying, how am I building relationships and serving my community? And even if that person isn't a good fit for you, you haven't burned any bridges in the process. And so it's a much more sustainable and long-term approach that aligns with the values that my clients have.
Beautiful. Okay, I want to turn now to talking about misconceptions about the platform on the whole, using LinkedIn in particular. So I have a lot of clients who are trying to figure out where their marketing strategy is going to take them and what platforms they should be on. Tell us who belongs on LinkedIn and what some of the common misconceptions about LinkedIn are. Because, I hear people saying like, well, it's very businessy and I feel like I can't be myself on the platform, or it's not appropriate, or, if I don't want to develop a big thought leadership platform, like, do I really need to be there? So talk to us a little bit about that.
I would love to. So one of the big misconceptions is that LinkedIn is this growing social network and it's for everybody running a business. And I don't believe that. Actually, one of the first things I ask people when they reach out to me is, are you sure that your ideal audience is on LinkedIn? This is so important. If you're listening to this podcast or video and you're asking yourself, should I use LinkedIn? I really want you to dive into, are my ideal clients on LinkedIn? Let's say, for example, that you sell cakes, and the best place where you find the folks that buy cakes from you is in your local WhatsApp groups, right? I wouldn't necessarily advise you to use LinkedIn. I might actually discourage you from doing so. Whereas if you're a B2B content strategist and you're trying to sell, content strategy to, larger startups or, mid-sized corporations, LinkedIn is probably an awesome place for you to be. And so you really need to think about your business and to understand, who exactly am I targeting? And do the people that I target sit on LinkedIn? Do they already use the platform of LinkedIn? Small business owners is my target audience, and a lot of small business owners are spending time on LinkedIn. And same for you, Rachel, as a coach. So it makes a lot of sense for the two of us to be on LinkedIn. But again, for those in the audience, make sure to really think about, is my audience spending time on LinkedIn? Because if they're not, then I wouldn't advise that you use the platform.
Yeah, and I talk about this a lot, like when it comes to TikTok or Instagram or any other platform. If your ideal clients aren't hanging out there, and also if you don't enjoy hanging out there, then it's not the right place for you, because you're not going to show up with your, putting your best face forward, right? You're not going to show up with the greatest level of ease, and you're not going to have as much joy putting into your marketing. And I know for some people listening, they're probably thinking like, joy, oh my gosh, no, I just do it because I have to. But I genuinely believe that when you build an aligned marketing strategy that connects with who you are at your core, then you can actually have fun with it. And so this is good. These are good tips. Okay, so the podcast reaches a lot of moms, and you are a new mom to be and planning to go on maternity leave shortly. I'd love for you to talk about how you've prepared for this time, how you are going to step away from your business, and how you've ensured that your business isn't going to dry up in your absence. Because I know that this is on a lot of people's minds, whether it be maternity leave or taking a 2-week vacation with their family and leaving the business behind. Do we have to be, a slave, if you will, to the business? And always, as solopreneurs or small business owners, have it in our back pocket?
It was a big question for me to think about what I wanted from my maternity leave. Did I want to be continuing to sell during maternity leave? Did I want to kind of keep the volume on low? So what I decided is that I'm going to take maternity leave starting 3 weeks before I'm due, 3 or 4 weeks before I'm due, because my parents are coming to town. So I get to spend time with them. So I might as well take advantage of that. Um, and I am going to turn off all of the selling in my business. However, like you said, it's so important for me to know that when I get back, I still have a thriving business ready for me. And so there's a few things that I'm doing to prepare for the time off. The first is that last month I hosted my first paid webinar on how business owners can track leads in their business. And I did this on purpose because I wanted to have a digital asset, like a webinar, that I could continue to sell even after the webinar itself. And so I've continued to sell that webinar even after hosting it live to folks who have reached out to me and who I've had conversations with in the DMs who are struggling with that particular problem. And again, in a few weeks, I'll be hosting another webinar on direct messaging. So the same idea goes is that I can, make it profitable for myself to host the event live, where, it's $175 a ticket. So even if I sell 10, 20 tickets, it's still like a highly profitable use of my time. But also after the webinar occurs, when people reach out to me asking to learn how to direct message, I have this awesome resource to share with them that doesn't require my time. So those were two things I did to prepare in terms of my product offering so that I do still have something to sell to folks when I'm out. The other thing that I'm still in the process of doing is building out my content for while I'm gone. And so I love content, partially because I'm a marketing person. But what I'll be doing is I'll be scheduling my twice a week LinkedIn posts and once to twice a week emails for the entire time that I'm on maternity leave. And so even though I'm not going to be selling directly, I'm not going to have many clear calls to action. I'm not going to have any clear calls to action. I will be directing folks to a wait list. And so if folks realize, based on the content that I produce, that they really should update their LinkedIn profile or that they want to build a LinkedIn strategy and take the guesswork out, and in order to find more clients, they can just fill their name out on a wait list. And then as I'm getting closer to coming back, I will send an email to those folks on the wait list so that I can book up my services and provide services to the folks that that have become interested since taking the time off. And then, I guess the final thing that I've done to prepare is I've really been thinking about how my offers will change when I come back from maternity leave, because, today I work from home and from 9 to 5, more or less, I can be at my computer. I often run errands and do other stuff during the day, but I can be taking calls and at my computer during that time. But when I have a newborn, life's going to look quite different. And so I've been working a lot on my curriculum so that when folks join my programs, again, they're not as reliant on me to deliver the work. And so my templates for sending direct messages, my templates for LinkedIn posts, my recorded content on how to think about LinkedIn has all gotten a lot better over the past several months, so that when I come back from maternity leave, I can actually remove a lot of the one-on-one calls from my program and really rely on email communication or async communication with clients in order to still help them achieve the same goals. Because essentially, when I get a question from a client on a call, I start to ask myself, what is the gap in my curriculum that's causing this client to ask this question? And so when I obsessively reconsider, okay, what's the gap? What's the gap? What's the gap? Then it gives me the fuel to know what curriculum improvements I can make on the back end of my program.
That's excellent. I feel like this is a bonus mini episode right here, just talking about how to prepare for a leave of absence from your business. And you gave 3 very strong strategies of preparing content ahead of time, creating a couple evergreen offers that can sell in your absence, and then third of all is preparing also for the time that you come back. So lots of great nuggets there. Do you feel like this business has helped you step into your full voice as a person, as a businesswoman, in the sense that we talk about here on this show?
I think I'll answer your question in a slightly different way than you asked. I think having a business has given me a lot of flexibility that I really valued. Actually, at the beginning of this year, back in February, I had a really major surgery. And so even just like literally from day one or, month 4 of having my business, it really showed me how the flexibility can support me. And also like how I have a responsibility to build a business that doesn't just need my manpower. So it's been a, totally wild ride. And then becoming pregnant and having morning sickness and being super tired and needing a nap every afternoon and all sorts of snack breaks because I've been so hungry throughout my entire pregnancy. So from a like just practical standpoint, I've been so happy that I started my business when I did because it's made my life a lot easier. And I think my work with my nonprofit really allowed me to develop my voice over the past 10 years. I was the unpaid executive director, followed by being the volunteer board president while I pursued a corporate career in healthcare. And so I really do think I found my voice during those roles. And I think that those experiences really prepared me to be able to love the work that I do today because I had the skills needed in order to, run my own business, stay accountable to my own goals and support my clients in the best way possible. So that was a long way of saying that I think that my past experiences helped me get prepared to be in the role that I am today. And like that skill of saying no that I mentioned earlier in our conversation also allowed me to say yes to the opportunities that I want and no to the opportunities that don't fit. So that basically I love all the work that I get to do today.
It's beautiful. And I think that this just goes to show that, you know, stepping into the full authentic expression of our voices really is a journey. And there are stepping stones along the way, and no piece of that journey is something to regret or something that hasn't served us, but really all of it can serve who we become today and in the future. So thank you for sharing that. I want to ask you one last question, which is something I ask all my guests. What is one tip you have for other women in business striving to honor their authentic voice?
I have to start by answering with a practical marketing tip, and then I'll go a little bit higher level. So the practical marketing tip is to build a skill of direct messaging and reaching out to folks in your network. It's really, really tempting as a small business owner to start publishing content and sit back and wait for people to come to you. So one of the best skills or the best piece of advice that I can give you is to take things into your own hand, to take the control back and start messaging people, get people's attention, ask people questions, invite curiosity, and amazing things will start happening to you. So just remember that you have that tool in your toolbox. It can feel really hard to use. I get it. But you're going to go so much farther faster if you are willing to put yourself out there and act from a place of curiosity. Again, not that place of selling. So acting from that place of curiosity. And then, the more high level advice, if you will, is to really believe in yourself. And it's something that I look back to myself a year ago, or just a little bit over a year ago, when I was thinking about leaving my job. And I wish I had believed in myself even more. I was so nervous. What if I don't find clients? What if this doesn't work for me? What if I don't like working from home? I could go on and on about all the concerns I have, but I wish I had believed in myself more and thought like, what's the best thing that could happen? And really focus on the positives versus kind of sitting in that self-doubt and worry, because sometimes things can be better than you predicted. And of course you need to set yourself up and have all the, financial security and backing to make sure that this is a smart decision for you. Opening a business is not easy. And you need the right support network in place, but also you get to bet on yourself, and what a beautiful opportunity that is.
I love that. So great. We're so good at coming up with all the reasons why we shouldn't do things and why we won't be good at things and how we're going to fail. I don't know what it is about the human brain that offers up all those scenarios. But I love the idea of intentionally thinking about what is possible, like what might change for me if this actually goes as I'm dreaming it will. So, really nice. Sara, thank you so much for being here and for the conversation. How can people best connect with you after the show and learn more about your programs? I know that you won't be taking active new clients right now, but this episode will air and be available for months and months to come. So tell us how people can find you.
Thanks so much. So there's the best place to find me is on LinkedIn, where I post twice a week. As I said, I'll continue to post throughout maternity leave, so you'll keep hearing from me there. And my name is Sara Royf, Sararoyf. So you can find me on LinkedIn. You'll also see on my LinkedIn profile a link to my newsletter. And if you like my LinkedIn content, you're going to love my email content. I would say sometimes it's even better than my LinkedIn content. So those are the two places where you can find my free content. Of course, if you're looking to learn how to track leads for your business, or if you're looking to learn how to direct message, then send me a message on LinkedIn or send me an email, and I can hook you up with those webinars that I mentioned throughout the session today.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. And of course, we will link all of this in the show notes. Sara, thank you again for being here. And to our listeners, thank you as always for tuning in. If this episode struck a chord or generated some sort of an insight you'd like to capture, I would love it if you would comment, like, or share this episode. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any future episodes. And with that, until next time, keep sharing your voice.